Welcome to my channel, guys. In this video I will talk you through how I made a miniature house out of just some sheets of foam and some cardboard. So the basic crafting materials that you need for this are going to be the foam board and the cardboard, obviously. So I got this at a hobby store close by my home for a total of €5 or so. So it's actually quite cheap. And the next thing you want to do is just figure out the basic layout for your house. So as this was the first time that I'm doing this type of house build, I decided to keep it really easy for myself, not any fancy shapes for the house, just a basic layout of a rectangular shaped house. For the roof, I did want to go a little bit into the fantasy setting, so I made a curved roof with also a elevation at the end. So I think normally in design you don't really see this very often, that this elevation goes so far that the roof actually goes up towards the outside, because then the rain would just collect in the middle of the lowest point of the roof. So probably just realistically that this would be a little bit of a stretch, but it gave a bit of a nice fantasy twist to the house itself. The next thing that I was going to do was to tile up the roof with roof tiles, and I was sending this picture to some friends of mine, and I was commenting like, "Look, I should become a roofer." And then someone commented like, "Yeah, you should start always at the bottom if you do this kind of thing, just because otherwise you have the tiles overlaying in the wrong way." Which is really fair, because in real life, if you make a house like this with the roofing like that, then once it starts to rain, then the rain's just going to be collected within the roof instead of actually falling down. So after fixing this minor issue, I continued with the proper roofing, and yeah, this took a lot of time. There's a lot of layers that you have to put on top of each other, and in the end, the amount of cardboard that I had to use for this build was way higher than I anticipated. I bought 2 sheets of foam, and I actually ended up using one of them. And for the cardboard, well, the roof is made out of it, and I also used it to line the corners of the house to give an impression of some wood being used there, and also some wood for the construction of the windows. But honestly, most of the cardboard went just into the roof. With these overlapping tiles, you lose a lot of the surface area of the cardboard. So I was really happy that I bought a big sheet of cardboard. But in the end, you do end up with quite a nice looking roof in this fashion, I would say. And it's also a little bit fantasy-like in the sense that it's not that well organized. And these roof tiles, they seem really cozy for some reason. For the last layer of the roof tiles, I first put a complete layer aligned with the rim of the roof, and then over the place where the 2 sides met, I put another layer of tiles, as you can see quite clearly in this picture. And I think this gives a really nice finish to the roof as a whole. Afterwards, I started painting the entire thing. So I used just some cheap craft paints with this, and I don't use these type of paints very often, so I was quite surprised at how poorly they actually cover surfaces in general. So I'm used to miniature paint, and these are really pigment rich. So the paints that I used here, I had to cover everything single area at least 3 times to get at least decent coverage. So that was a new experience for me, actually. And here you can see the house in a bit of a later paint stage. So the bars, I used miniature paint on those to give them a proper wooden look. And then the windows, I used the crafts paint, but then for the black linings I just used miniature paint, just to be sure that one layer was enough. So all of the details that you see in these pictures are all just cardboard that have been carved out and painted to look like the details that they represent. So the way that I painted the entire thing is mostly just a beige color on the stonework, then washing it with a diluted brown For the roof, you take a mix of red and brown, and you gradually go to a little bit more red colors, dry brushing over the other pre-existing layers. And for the brown wood, I just used my brown that I had lying around. Um, and afterwards, I got some constructive feedback that instructed me that it would be nice maybe to also put some greenery on it. So you can get all these type of different flocks at a miniature store, and you can pay high prices for this. In my case, I actually used mint, so it's just a herb, dried mint, and I just glued it on with some PVA glue. I think it looks really great because there's a lot of diversity also within the mint that you have, and yeah, it even smells kind of okay. So there's still going to be a layer of varnish over it, of course, also to make the smell disappear. And as a final detail, I added a balcony on the front to make the piece in its entirety a little bit less symmetric and give it a little bit more interesting details. Yeah, so this is how I went from just a couple of sheets of foam and cardboard to a full house, miniature house. How much that? Um, if you feel inspired, please just send me any photos or pictures or whatever of your attempts. It's not that challenging to get started. The only thing I found really useful in this build is to have a glue gun. So I used a lot of glue in this, in putting everything together. Um, and if you ever want to do this, I would strongly advise to just get a glue gun yourself, because that really helps. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you the next time.